Autobots roll out. What's good with it?
All right.
On the road again. We are on the road again. He left the group to go pee. The bus is outside. That one.
You on the bus, right? You on the bus.
On the bus. My wrist hurt. Where your bag at?
In the classroom.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't bring no lunch.
Why? You gonna buy something?
No, I had breakfast.
Yeah, but it's lunch.
You don't eat lunch and breakfast. You eat either or. It's either breakfast and dinner or lunch and dinner.
Okay. He made it, man. He made it. He found his phone. He made it to the bus.
My boy vlogging out here. Yo, what's good, St. Clair?
What it do, man? What it do? What it do? What it do, my people?
Yo. Nephew. Nephew, my lap. Adam. Maybe Northcott and Medina.
Alright, so this is my vegan food that I got from Aldi. I usually get my vegan food from Walmart and it's called Beyond the Meats, but I'm not spending no like $10 just to get some vegan food.
All right. Yeah.
It's grilled.
It's grilled fake meat.
There's no meat in here.
At all. It's like I tried it. It's like it breaks down easily. It's like chips.
Dang,
it's like Lay's chips.
Yeah, I'd rather eat this instead of meat.
Word?
There's a lot of
What?
It's vegan. There's a lot of things in there that's good for you, and also I don't want to eat no more of my animals. I love my animals.
Man, I will eat any animal, man. A deer, a cow.
You ever watch Dr. Sebi? There's a lot of stuff on there.
Don't tell me no sapper. They assume that they're in shape. I don't know.
What is that? The Mock Congress is here today, so you're going to see lots of kids also walking around. Welcome again. Any questions, concerns? Just a man. Okay, thank you.
Okay, good morning, cadets.
Good morning.
And thank you for your commitment. Appreciate it. What branch of the service are you? Marine Corps? Yeah. 75. Thank you very much. Okay. My name is Rich. I'm going to be your tour guide for the next hour or so. So you can call me Rich. You don't have to call me Mr. And in the next hour or so, I'm going to take you around this building and show you a lot of cool things about the building itself, a little bit about the artwork, a little bit about the history, but mostly about the process of what goes on in here. And I know you're going to have a lot of questions. We're going to make about, 5 or 6 stops. And I know your captain asked for a bathroom break. We call it bio breaks, and we will be doing one of those pretty soon. But that won't count as one of the 5 or 6 stops. But on one of the 5 or 6 stops, I'm going to be telling you about what goes on at that particular area. I know you're going to have questions. I'd like you to hold the questions until the end. I save a couple of minutes at the end of each stop for your questions. In all probability, while I'm speaking, I'm probably going to answer your question anyway. So please just hold them until the end, and I'll be happy to take them then. I'm going to have plenty of questions for you on the way. And my first question is, who is the boss of New Jersey State? That's a clue. It's not me. He said, is it me? No, but it's not me personally. Not me personally. What did he say? Us. What are the first 3 words to the United States Constitution? We the people. Always remember that, okay? I'm going to tell you about 957 facts today about this building. None of them are more important than the fact that we, the people, are the boss of New Jersey state government and any government that goes on in this country, okay? And that will be the theme of what we talk about today. So before we get to that heavy concept, let's direct our eyes upward. This is called the Leap Skylight. It's named after Kenneth Leap. Kenneth Leap was the artist who created it. It was placed here about 20 years ago when this section of the building was renovated. And you will see along this axis, there are latitude numbers. 39 degrees, 40 degrees, so on and so forth. Those are the latitude degrees that cross over New Jersey. Along this axis, we have longitude numbers, 74 degrees to 75 degrees. Those are the longitude numbers that cross New Jersey. And at the intersection of those latitude and longitude numbers, we have the representations of historic events or cultural items that appear at that section of New Jersey. For instance, there's one I like to talk about right here, where you see the elephant at 74 degrees longitude and 39 degrees latitude. That is Lucy the elephant, who's in Margate, New Jersey. Come on right through, guys. That is Lucy the elephant, who's in Margate, New Jersey, which is just south of Atlantic City. It's an national historic landmark. Okay, thank you. Close the door. Right here, we see a picture of George Washington at 40 degrees latitude and 75 degrees longitude. And you will see a book there, and on the book there is a picture of a dome with a gold dome on the top of it. That's where we are, right? That's the building where we are right now. That represents Trenton, New Jersey. George Washington and Trenton we'll talk about a little while later. But that particular dome there, you might have seen it before you came in. It's in the section of the building over there that's being renovated. That particular dome has 48,000 square feet of gold leaf on it. And when that gold leaf, as you know, is just gold hammered very, very thin. And when that gold leaf was put on there in 1999, when the dome was renovated, gold leaf cost $1 per square foot. So 48,000 square feet, $48,000. Where do you think the money for that gold leaf came from? Taxes. Nope, not taxes. Not government. Close. Specifically, what kind of people? They came from kids, just like yourself. Kids. There was a program in New Jersey in 1999. It was called Dimes for the Dome. And school children all across the state of New Jersey had fundraisers. Car washes, cake sales, whatever. They raised the money collectively, all of them, school children, for the $48,000 that paid for the gold leaf that went on that particular dome. You can take a look at it when you go outside, too. Unfortunately, we can't get under the dome today because that section is being renovated. So that goes to show you that even kids your age, young adults, can get involved in what goes on in this building. In this particular case, it physically, literally went on the building. But I'm going to explain as we go along how you can get involved in what goes on inside the building, which we have to go through a tunnel, up some more steps and around and about. It'll take about a couple of minutes to get over there, but I'll talk about various points as we go along. So if you'll let me go through here.
On the road again. On the road again.
Annex where we came from, the State House property. See the signs mark each of the buildings.
We are underground, good people. My bad. Is that oh. Is that the trash can don't fit the environment.
It's called the Glory of New Jersey. The Glory of New Jersey was placed here in 1995. It was created by the Beam Porcelain Company, which is located here in Trenton, New Jersey. This stands approximately 3 feet tall, weighs about 75 pounds, and as you know, porcelain is very fine clay. What's significant about the Glory of New Jersey is that it contains 4 state symbols. Can anybody name one? Yeah? Goldfinch. Goldfinch, right. Goldfinch is the state what? Bird. Okay, that's one. How about another one? Flower. State flower. What kind of flower is it? What color is it? Purple. So what kind of flower is it?
Violet?
Violet, right. Purple violet, state flower. That's 2. 2 more to go.
The tree.
The tree, state tree. Believe it or not, we have a state tree. What kind of tree is it?
Maple.
Check the leaves. Oak. Right. Particularly is
Bose.
a red oak. That's the state tree of New Jersey. And we have one more here. It's kind of small. The big, right?
Look at the camera.
People over here can see it. People back there can't.
Look at the camera. Look at the camera.
Right. It's the honeybee. It's the state insect. Believe it or not, we have a state insect. Okay, now, how did the state bird get to be the state bird? What had to happen? Did somebody in 1935 just wake up one morning and wave a magic wand and poof, the goldfinch was the state bird? No. Unlikely. Excuse me? Well, yes, New Jersey has a large population of goldfinches. If you actually watch and look, you will see them. I know, I've seen plenty of them. Okay, but what actually had to happen? What do we make here in this building? Laws, right. A law was passed which made the goldfinch the state bird in 1935, okay? To give you an even more updated and maybe more relevant example to yourselves is, does anybody know what the state fruit is? Not the apple. What is it?
Mango.
Now, it's a berry. It's a berry. It's not the cranberry. They're blue.
Blueberry.
Thank you.
They're
I know
blue.
you get it. Okay, so the blueberry is the state fruit of the state of New Jersey. It became so in 2003. The idea for the state fruit being the blueberry was thought up by 4th graders. In 2003, they said, hey, the state of New Jersey doesn't have a state fruit. We think it should be the blueberry, because blueberries are grown in South Jersey. Okay, a lot of blueberries are grown down there. So they thought it should be the blueberry. So they got in touch with their legislators, the people who work in the assembly, which is over there, and we're going to go in there in a short period of time. And they said to the people who work in the assembly, their representatives, they said, we would like to have a state fruit. We think it should be the blueberry. The representatives drew up a bill, which is not a law, but it's an idea for a bill. They drew up a bill. This is one page from a bill. Bills can be one page, they can be 100 pages, depends on what they're talking about. They drew up a bill, and the bill was put to a vote in the assembly. It passed in the assembly. We're going to talk about how that happens in a little bit. And then the bill went over to the Senate. Excuse me, the Senate chamber over here. It was debated over there and voted on, and it passed there. Then it went over there to the old section of the building, which you can't see. It's under renovation on the other side of that wall, where the governor's office was. I think it was Governor McGreevy at the time, and he said, okay, this is a pretty good idea. He signed the bill. Then it became law. That's how stuff gets done. That's how state symbols get declared. Okay? It goes through a legislative process, through the assembly, through the Senate, then over to the governor, and blah, 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 which we're going to talk about more in detail when we go into the chambers. You're also going to talk about it in a lot of detail when you go to your Make-A-Law class in about an hour from now. No matter if you're not old enough to vote, you're still a citizen of the state. You can participate in the process. 9-year-olds did it. They got blueberries declared as the state fruit of the state of New Jersey. You're thinking, Rich, that's not all that important. Okay, in the scheme of things, it's not. But it's just an example to give you that tells you, yes, you can get involved in stuff that's not very important or stuff that's really important. It's your choice, okay? You are some of the bosses of the state of New Jersey. It turns red. Why do they use red and green traffic lights? No, it has nothing to do with traffic. It's a tradition. Yep. That one's yellow right there. You go. Okay, and that one's yellow. So yeah, so you would have green, yellow, and red, just like a traffic light. Okay? Just coincidental that it works out that way. But the colors are selected from the British House of Parliament. The House of Commons uses a green light when they are in session. The House of Lords uses a red light. Just a little tradition. We're descended from British law. That's why they picked it. Okay?
All these pictures on the wall. They gotta.
Where the General Assembly meets on Mondays and Thursdays from September until June. The General Assembly is one half of the legislative branch of the state government of New Jersey. As you probably know, the state government is divided into three branches: the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. The judicial branch is the courts. The legislative branch is the people's branch, known informally as the people's branch. This is where our representatives are, where our representatives make the laws that we suggest to them. And then the executive branch is the branch with the governor and all the departments, and those are the people who execute the laws that are made in this chamber and in the Senate. That's where the word executive comes from. They execute the will of the people. And the governor, currently Phil Murphy, he is in charge of the executive branch, and that's all the governor is in charge of, period. Okay? The executive branch happens to be the largest branch. I think they have around 60,000 or so employees, but that's all the governor is in charge of, is that particular branch. So here we have the General Assembly. You'll notice that we have desks on the floor, and there are some renovations going on. What they've been doing, I understand, the past couple of weeks, is they've been putting in the tally boards, which I'll talk about in a moment. There's one tally board on either side of the room. They're exactly the same, and that's used in voting, which I'll talk about when in just a few minutes. So they have boards down and so forth so as not to damage the floor. But you'll see these desks here. These desks are generally arranged a little bit differently. They go down toward the front a little bit more. But those desks are where your representatives sit. And your representatives from Rahway are Assemblywoman Linda Carter and Assemblyman James Kennedy. So those are the two people that represent you here in this particular house of the legislature. Now, there are 80 desks where the representatives sit. 80 because the state of New Jersey is divided into 40 legislative districts. What's a legislative district? It's simply an area on the map that's drawn on the map that contains about 220,000 people. So each of these representatives has about 220,000 bosses, 220,000 people that they represent. How do they keep those 220,000 people back at home happy? They vote the way that the people back at home are telling them to vote. So let's say we have a bill comes up for vote. Let's just talk about, as I said, this is just the first page of a bill. Bill comes up for a vote. None of that stuff matters. If a bill is brought up for a vote, it has to get 41 votes. If it doesn't, then it doesn't pass. Now, that particular bill, because it didn't pass, doesn't mean that it's dead forever. It can come back. It can come back in the same form. It can come back in a slightly modified version. I was talking to a senator one day. She told me that she's been working on some bills for 10 years, trying to get them through, modifying them along the way. So it's an ongoing process. That, in a nutshell, is basically how a bill gets passed through this particular room. Let's say the bill passes, it gets 42 votes, the bill passes. If the bill started here, then it goes over to the Senate, where we'll be going in a few minutes to talk about the process over there, which is basically kind of the same, but with a few differences. 1891, okay? This is the largest room in the building. It's also my favorite. It's the biggest, it's the brightest, and when there is the annual budget address or the state of the state address, when the governor addresses the entire legislature, the governor is up there at that front desk actually, and he speaks to everybody. This room is packed. It has the assembly members in it. The Senate members come over. The Senate chamber is smaller, so the Senate members come over here. Various members of the departments and some members of the public and so forth will sit up here. When the Assembly is meeting in its normal sessions and debating bills and voting on bills, this area is where the public sits. And the public certainly has the right to observe what's going on in this room. Anything that takes place in this room is for public consumption. We pay the people that work here. We are the bosses. We are the people who suggest the laws, who push for laws to be passed. So we have the absolute right to see what's going on here and to see how our representatives vote. Let's just see how your particular representative voted. Carter, and she is in that first column, looks like about number 8 or 9 from the top. She voted yes. And Kennedy is also in the first column. He's second from the bottom. He voted no. Why they did that, I don't know, but you can certainly contact them and ask them that. That is your perfect right to do that. This room was built back in the 1800s. This particular chandelier that we have right in front of our faces here, this was put here when this portion of the building was built. This particular chandelier was created by the Thomas Edison Electric Light Company. Yeah, the guy who invented the light state. But he spent very significant time in this city and on this particular piece of soil. On Christmas night, 1776, George Washington and his portion of the American Army were across the Delaware River, which is very close to here. And if I had a baseball and an open window, I could probably throw the baseball across the Delaware River from here. It's so close. They were upstream about 12 miles. And the Americans were getting very discouraged with the war. The war had been going on since around April of that year, well, actually a little bit before, but been going on for a while, and it had not been going very well for the Americans. They were getting discouraged. They were losing motivation. They were saying, we can't beat the British. They're the most powerful military force on earth. We should probably just go back to being British subjects, go back to our farms and families, and forget about this whole thing. George and his generals over there in Pennsylvania said, we're not going to have this. We're going to take one last shot at this and see if we can make this idea of America work. So, George got all his men in the boats, all their cannons, all their guns, all their ammunition, their horses, everything, the whole kit and caboodle, and they rode them in the middle of the night on Christmas night across the Delaware. You've seen the painting, right? They landed about 12 miles upstream. They snuck down in the middle of the night, and they waited at the tree line. It was about 3 blocks from where we are right now. When the sun came up over there, the Americans came in. This was a field at the time. British were camped in tents here. And the main body of the force was over there in the old barracks, which we can't see because the shades are down. It's about 100 yards away. Hessian soldiers, mercenaries hired by King George III. That was the primary element of that particular force. The Americans came down, they flooded the area, they took the British and the Hessians by surprise. You've probably heard the story, okay? There was not one American casualty. I can't say the same thing for the British and the Hessians. First major American victory in the Revolution. And it started here, and it turned the tide of the war. First major American victory. At that time, then the American soldiers started saying, all right, maybe we can beat these British. So they re-enlisted. And indeed they did. They beat them again a couple weeks later. They went up the road to Princeton. They had another battle, another major American victory. 2 in the space of about less than 2 weeks, okay? And it started right here, right in the field where this building is standing. Also, the Speaker of the Assembly, I believe, has an office on the other side of the road. Speaker of the Assembly is the person who actually runs the Assembly. He or she is a member of the Assembly. They represent a district, but they also have double duty. They also run the Assembly. You'll learn a little bit more about that when you go to make law. Yes?
Why is there a face on the thingy?
Why is there a face on the thing? You mean on the state seal?
No, like right there, the design on the chandelier.
Oh, on the chandelier. I see.
Oh.
Yeah, that is actually Jupiter. I believe Jupiter is a Roman god. And is it Roman or Greek? You probably know better than I. It's a long time.
It was first Greek and then Roman.
Greek. Okay, Greek. Thank you. A lot of people think it's the Jersey Devil, and it's not.
Jersey Devil.
They picked it up from Greek mythology. I believe it's supposed to be Jupiter. That face is also on the front of that desk down there, the clerk's face. I usually get more. You can't see it, unfortunately, because the drape is over.
Oh.
Any other questions?
Semi-residence gallery. Oh, what's this? Okay. It's like a heater. They want to make sure it's clean. Oh yeah. It's dope.
The Senate is comprised of 40 members. That's because the Constitution of the state of Jersey says that from each legislative district there will be 1 senator assembly people from each district, but 1 senator. So the Senate is always, as defined by the New Jersey State Constitution, half the size of the assembly. The gentlemen that you see working here are installing these new tally boards, similar to the ones that we saw over in the assembly. I had a question from a cadet coming in. She said, why are they putting in new boards? The other ones were old, they weren't working as well, they were obsolete, they were not digital, so now we have the nice digital boards, which are easier to handle and present more information for everyone. So, the process that goes on here is pretty much the same as the process that goes on in the assembly. It's just like when a bill is started, a bill can start either in the Senate or the Assembly. And by starting, I mean when one of the bosses of the state of New Jersey has an idea for a bill and they want to suggest it to their legislators, they can pick the senator, their senator, or they can pick their assembly person. The only limitation on that would be is if the bill has something to do with money, like budget or finance, then it must be suggested to the assembly. All money bills start in the assembly. Bills on any other topic can start in either house. So let's say, for example, a bill started over in the assembly, passed over there, then it comes over here. It has to go through the process. It has to go through the levels of committee that I mentioned briefly, over the assembly, which we'll talk about or make law. If it survives 3 layers of committee votes, then it comes here to the open floor of the Senate. The senators will then read it, we'll talk about it, talk about the pros and cons. The public will sit up here and watch and listen. After the debate is over, they have a limited amount of time. After the debate is over, then it will come up for a vote. That front desk there, which you see is covered in white plastic, that is where the secretary of the Senate sits. And he or she, again, is the business manager. They take care of all the needs. Sitting with the computer at top desk, where the president of the Senate sits. The president of the Senate is actually a senator. He or she represents the district, but also has double duty in that they run the assembly with the assistance, run the Senate with the assistance of the secretary.
Back in the tunnel, to the next room. Where? I did not know.
I wish you luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rich.
Can you deal with that? I got stuff in school. Now we're gonna learn. I don't know what we're doing.
We're in
This is the paper.
We're in the assembly.
This is the paper. Right, words.
Whoa.
And words. Whoa.
There's mad words right there.
Bad
I don't know.
Whoa. Whoa. Yeah. Wait. Ready. Whoa. Oh, we got stickers. We got stickers, guys. We got stickers.
Yeah, come on now.
We got stickers.
Morphin' time.
Oh
We're like
man.
that. We're like that. We got stickers.
Black Ranger.
Man, I'll be the.
Black Ranger. Morphin' time.
Listen, as long as I'm a G, it don't matter.
All right, I can make that.
Wow, my
Hi,
God.
Isabel.
I understand there's a little code word I can get your attention, is that true? Yes. Not eyes, nose, but ears. Is that me? I'm gonna try that. So my name's Carol Rogers. I want to welcome you to the second part of your fun-filled day here at the State House. So this is the Make a Law. Rich took you around and showed you the State House and how the bill can become a law. And what we're going to do here is we're actually going to take a real bill currently going through the House, so you can definitely look it up on the internet. And we're going to debate and discuss how this works. So it's 25 minutes of active discussion. So you're not called on, but I'm hoping to generate some discussion. Great is this?
What's next?
Oh, a little bit of everybody. Excellent.
Oh yeah.
So
2, 4, 6, 8, 2,
yeah, but I need the majority. So you're the Democrats and you're the Republicans. No changing seats. So I'm the Speaker of the General Assembly. So did you guys see the board up there today?
Oh yeah.
And today is actually the first day that board is up, so you guys actually saw the brand spanking new board. They actually have been closed for a month putting that up, so So what happens is I'm the speaker, I'm elected by the majority party, thank you very much, Democrats. And my job is to make sure that both sides of the aisle are equally represented for the very small public seating area we have back there. And so they've come down because they have an interest in this bill, either for or against. But the first thing we need to do is get you in office. So if all the future, what am I in the General Assembly, raise your right hand, not the adults. Right hand up. Come on, right hand up. Here, right hand up. Let's make this happen. Right hand up. I do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of General Assembly member according to the best of my ability. Now you're assembly people for about 24 minutes. Anybody know how much you get paid as an assembly person?
$1.
So I have to say it's either $47,000 or $49,000 a year. It's considered a part-time job, so you actually usually have another job. And what I will say about the General Assembly, it's a very diverse group of occupations. Most legislatures are lawyers, lots of flexibility. They're studying law. This is kind of something they've come to feel is a passion of theirs. But a lot of states, the lower house, the General Assembly, it's a little bit of everybody. So our General Assembly, if you look at the career fields and everything's online, you know, we have a dentist, a union guy, plumber, a couple of people stay at home, other people have other fields, financial. So things that allow you to come to the Senate and the Assembly and represent your district. If your job tells you you can't go, a very nice state trooper will show up and remind your job that by law, once you're elected to the legislature, you have to come to all the sessions. You might not want to come, and that's on you, but your job can never stop you from coming. So keep that in mind as you move through life. So this is a real bill. It's sponsored, so you would see Assembly 2723, State of New Jersey, 217th Legislature. This was introduced February 8, 2016. Sponsored by Assemblyman Jay Weber, District 26, and Assemblyman Adam Talafero, District 3. So that's sort of the normal course. 2 sponsors. If you have 1 sponsor, that's usually a test bill. So a few years ago, one of the Assembly people floated the medical marijuana. It was 1 sponsor. He just wanted to get the discussion going, like he really didn't expect it to go anywhere. Co-sponsored by Assemblyman Space and Assemblywoman Fever. And what's the synopsis? What's another word for synopsis? Summary, correct. So synopsis, this is what you'll get. Requires school districts to allow homeschool students to participate in school-sponsored extracurricular activities in the student's resident district, and current version of text. Then if you open it, so in New Jersey, page 2, that's the legal language, right? An act concerning 1(b)(c)(2). But in New Jersey, it was felt at some point one of the houses, the legislators, decided that over the course of the last 2-year session, how many bills would you have reviewed? About 8,000. So you're not expected to remember, but while the statement's being read, that's kind of going to get you back to your laptop to figure out, oh yeah, how did my district feel? So by them reading it, everybody knows where we are. So thank you very much for volunteering. I'll have you read that.
Gotcha. This bill requires school districts to allow homeschooled students to participate in any school-sponsored extracurricular activity, including, but not limited to, clubs, musical ensembles, statewide interscholastic sports programs, and theatrical productions in the student's district of residence in accordance with the same criteria established for students enrolled in the district. Under the bill, a homeschooled student who wishes to participate in any extracurricular activity in his resident district must provide proof that he resides in the district, meet the eligibility and trial criteria for participation in the activity, and comply with all policies, rules, and regulations of the governing organization of the extracurricular activity. In the event that the extracurricular activity involves participation in interscholastic athletics, the student must demonstrate to the Board of Education that he did not transfer to a homeschool program for athletic advantage. Under the bill, if the extracurricular activity requires the completion of a physical examination or medical test as a condition of participation, and the school district of residence offers the examination or test to the students enrolled in the school district, then the school district is required to allow a homeschooled student to access the examination or test and must publish the date and time for the examination or test on its website.
Thank you. So that was my default first. So I run the House topic, and out of that percolates the bill that's going to be second reading, so everybody's on the same playing field. You kind of decide, do I really want that state candy, or do I really want it to be that state candy? You know, something as easy as that or as difficult as another. And then the third reading is the vote, and that's the one that you'll see the little snippets on local TV, your legislators feeling good. And that's, you know, the web has been a wonderful tool. Everybody can get online now and see what's going on. I mean, really, transparency is pretty phenomenal at this point. So, I have Democrats. So, the second row, the first seat, you're the majority leader, you're the minority leader. So, if I had a question, I'm not going to expect to talk to all individual legislators. I'm going to talk to the party leaders. So you'll be talking to them. So you can stand up on behalf of the party or your individual district. So don't feel any pressure. Okay. Good. All right. So how do we feel? Do we like the bill? Not like the bill? Not sure about the bill? Care less about the bill? Is this something that the state of New Jersey should be involved in? This is where your part comes in. Feel free to raise a hand and I'll call on you. Who's raising their hand first?
Yes, because even if you're homeschooled, you can okay.
Even if the first meeting, even though, you know, we're very first tonight.
Even if you're homeschooled, you should be able to do sports and clubs and stuff like that.
So this legislator says that's how the district feels, and that's what the representative is going to say. So this assembled person,
my district isn't sure how we feel because at the same time you're still in the same district and you should be able to do some sports fest in the district, but then at the same time you're not representing that school or that district. So,
and therein lies the reason we have public debate. Thank you, that's good. So, you know, you might get really strong feelings from your district on one way, but equally strong feelings on the other, and you as the elected representative really have to decide which way you're going to go. You usually want to vote to support or oppose a bill. If you abstain too often, it honestly is the first thing your opponent is going to do. You know, were they really looking out for your best interests? So you have to make some difficult decisions. All right, I have one Democrat, one Republican, and my job is to keep this going until we get a consensus. And then I'm going to move on to the next one. So sometimes it's short, I got overwhelming support or overwhelming opposition. And sometimes, like now, I need a few more opinions to get a feel of where we're going. So, Democrats, you're the majority, so you guys should be leading this charge. You really can do a unanimous vote without the Republicans, but New Jersey loves bipartisan appeal when both sides of the aisle are supporting or opposing a bill. So, I'm going to put the onus on you guys to step up a little bit. I'll take a couple of opinions here and then we'll see how the Republicans feel about that.
I'm in opposition of the bill because it's allowing the cherry picking of our public services. You know, you've made a conscious choice that you are not going to participate in our public school system. Therefore, you should not be allowed to participate in the extracurricular activities that come with that position.
So, and this, you're always representing your district, so it's not your personal opinion, unless you say that. You can say, look, my district feels this way, but honestly, I've been in the legislature for 15 years, I think they're wrong, you know, so, but usually if you stand up, you're representing your district, because you're gonna get texts, tweets, your district office is gonna get a position, and why?
I rise and support because I feel as though not everything is the child's decision. So if the parents decide to take the child out of the school district and have them be homeschooled and the child really wants to play sports, then they should be allowed to play sports. It's not always their decision, so they should have a chance to expand themselves.
Thank you. And that, so normally I would just get, you know, opinions keep it going, but you know, it's a little, and these three opinions, four, are actually the biggest difficulty you have. You know, the reality of a district having to pay its bills, and the reality of families making choices that really at a certain point in time you might decide is not your best choice. So they're hearing from their constituents.
I rise to support.
It's like a little split house going over here with Democrat.
I believe that every single student, child, or etc. should have an equal shot as every other person and doing what they believe they can do.
And so you're sort of, and you see how you kind of echo on from someone else, you might not have been thinking about that, but so the Republican legislator said, well, I'm not really sure how we feel. But now after hearing it, she might kind of, meanwhile, she's getting real-time texts. I mean, you guys are busy. We're sitting on this session. All right, so here's the deal. I can call on the legislator again. You only have 3 times to talk on a particular bill. So you never know if I'm gonna just stop the discussion, you know. But this one, you can tell we're not really sure where we're going. So she's gonna take a chance and stands up. Rise to continue your ambiguity, or have you kind of made a choice?
Yeah, I'm more on the opposition side because going with what she said when she
Your
said...
fellow legislator? I'm very sorry.
Yeah. When she said, like, the parent wanted to take them out of the, there was obviously a reason for a parent taking their child out, and they shouldn't have no part with that school anymore. So I don't really think they should have a choice on whether they should do the first school.
So because of the public debate and discussion, she was able to articulate sort of the opinions of her district and kind of say, okay, I'm coming on this side. And that brings up a good thing. You get, I mean, nowadays you'll get emails, but way back when we started this program, you got letters. So here's a few letters that you would get. So, dear Assembly member, my name is Jasmine Rogers. I'm a resident and a high school student in your district. Today my class watched an assembly session online and noticed you're supporting Assembly Bill 2723. I'm writing because I participate in many of my school's extracurricular activities, including the theater club, choir, and our jazz ensemble. And as I'm sure you're aware, many of these clubs, especially musical ensembles, have a cap of how many students can participate. If you were to pass this bill and the governor signs it into law, this could mean more competition to be part of these groups. I do not feel this is fair to the students that are actually enrolled in public school. Many students, including myself, hope to use these activities not only for the wonderful experience, but also to help with acceptance to college. I hope this letter will help you reconsider. So you're gonna get a lot of these. One legislator said he gets about 100 letters on a bill, minimum. So that's why you have a district office staff. So you're a part-time legislator, but you have a full-time district office staff in your district. So they work Monday, Friday, 9 to 5. Let's see, this is, my name is Barbara Roberts. I'm a lifelong resident of your district. I'm writing this because I heard you're supporting Assembly Bill 2723. Please consider a different point of view. All 3 of my children attend public schools and participate in some form of extracurricular activities. These activities have been a wonderful experience and serve as a safe place to go after school. As a working mother, I take comfort knowing my kids are at school and not home alone after hours. From my understanding and research, most homeschool children have the good fortune of having a parent home during the day and not just an at-home tutor. Furthermore, my kids have to maintain a certain GPA to participate in activities. How are you tracking GPA for homeschool students? If you allow homeschool participants to have these activities, there will be less opportunity for public school kids that are not only talented, but would otherwise sit home alone until parents return from their work days. I appreciate your help and ask that you please send me a response. So that's the diversity of New Jersey. You get letters from, you know, this might be a different type of district than the ones in the sponsor. Stan, yeah. Do you rise to support or oppose the bill, and why?
I rise to support.
Yeah, you know, why is that?
Because it wasn't their choice to be homeschooled, and they probably want to be in that team or join that club.
So now I have a minority opinion and a majority opinion sort of echoing each other. I have sort of a standalone opinion that basically is a strong opinion because I'm getting letters, and then I have the other opinion in this legislature. So I'm still not sure what I'm going to do with this bill, because in the end, and the 2 party leaders are going to decide, are we going to move this over to the 3rd meeting for the vote, you know, so we kind of do that. All right, do you rise to support or oppose, and why? Thank you.
I rise to oppose because, like, I feel like if you're in homeschool, you should stay in that area, because I'm on a club team too. I still like a high school team, but I feel like it's like the same. Like club teams, I think they're closer, but like.
That's good, so there. And so this legislator was good, she put a little personal experience, the public loves personal experiences, and they, you know, that resonates with them, and she is almost like a first-person narrator, so this is the experience I had, this is why I feel this is, that carries a lot of weight, you know, so you bring your experience with you when you sit here representing, do you know how many people you represent in each district? 280,000 people.
Okay.
And what was your opinion to remind your fellow assembly?
I agree with you.
Okay.
So going off of your letter said, and well, the man who said that he played from a child, and then once they moved, like they had financial problems, so she plays club teams as well as school teams, but at the same time, club teams, most of the time you have to pay for them. So if he just said that they have financial problems, then playing on a high school team would be much easier because they give them the uniforms and the most you have to buy is like footwear to play with your sport. So that's all I have to say.
And so that adds good depth to that argument. And that's what you want. The public loves depth. You know, they want to know. You can stand up and say, my district supports this, my district doesn't. But that's not going to carry as much weight as given those narratives. Now they have contacts, and the public will contact you. New Jersey is a very, very on state. So this will be your third and final time. Guys, to continue your position or change. So you were neutral, and then you decided to oppose the bill, and now going to still oppose.
Okay, so again, going off of what she said. She said like
Your fellow assembly person. Everybody's very polite.
The fellow assembly person said that the financial problems, but the schools provide education and sports, and homeschooling is different from going to school, which in this paper,
Bill?
yes, this bill, it says the school district provides an examination or test for students enrolled in the system, and they're basically the homeschool students are not enrolled in the school district, which means that they shouldn't be getting a choice on whether they can play school district sports.
And that's an argument that basically got built up, so that's very good. So what you could do, so say you really weren't sure about that, you've tried at the committee to have language inserted in the bill for some sort of proficiency.
So, going off what my fellow legislator said, he said that, and what the letter said, it said that the child had financial issues, and where is he going to be able to get these social interactions? Because it's important to get these social interactions out at an early age and later on in life. And say if he can't play for a club team because he has no money, and he can't go to school because he's homeschooled, where's that social interaction? So it's better off he goes to school, he goes to these activities after school, get some type of social interaction, because we don't know if he's going outside, if his parents are teaching him like the right social interaction. And another reason is because it's a competition. Because say if you said he was playing football from like 5 years old, that's a great competition. Because the next person that took his spot might not be as good as him. So like that just decreases the competition completely. And then like there's always competition in life, like either going for a job, for college, and stuff should not be just spoon fed to you. Like it should be award to your hard work and stuff. And he worked hard, he should be able to play for his team and stuff.
Thank you. And you see how that, a lot of times with all the discussion, you sort of lose the public's like, what do you think of that? How did that go?
I oppose. I don't know what my fellow assembly member said. He said, because usually homeschooling, majority of the time, it's not free. So at that point, you should put your public school is free. So at that point, you should be in public school, because public school is free if you're having financial problems. So at that point, it shouldn't be a discussion. If you're having financial problems, go to public school, go to homeschool, and therefore you're open to clubs and after-school activities.
So, and you see how it generates, and you could do this all day, but at a certain point, I will shut it off for the vote. So I'll take one more opinion, the Democrat.
I rise to support because public school isn't like free. Like you still need to pay for testing, like ACT, SATs. You need to pay for a bunch of stuff.
All right,
yeah.
We got the floor. Everybody at this stage.
So I feel like what he said.
Your fellow legislator.
I said, yeah. Yep. You need to build that social interaction. In your homeschool, that's harder for you because you're around less people, you're around your family, but you need social interaction with strangers and people you don't know.
Other representatives said that's why all the conversations head towards me, because you're going to agree and disagree on 50 to 100 bills in one afternoon. So you're going to be best friends and mortal enemies. You know, it's an emotional nightmare. So you're going to be doing that all day. So that's why conversation's polite. Always talk to me, because at the end of the day, you're just doing the people's will. You know, nothing's personal, even though it sounds like it. So, All right, so do you continue
Yes.
your position, which is?
I agree with it.
So you support the bill, and you want to add, obviously, an addendum.
Okay, so, my fellow.
Assembly people.
Assembly people, okay, public school is free, but, what is it? Homeschooling doesn't have to be expensive. You can go to the libraries, you can use online, and you don't have to like use online, because they have something like K-12 where you have to pay for that, but you can you can always use like online resources that are free. You can use your library, you can even use hand-me-down educational supplies that were used prior, like in our schools, like when we get new books and stuff like that, they don't always just go to waste.
Your district is going to say, how did this happen? So I think we have a good idea, though. You guys were excellent, by the way. Thank you. I appreciate that. So I am going to have one of the adults come up and help me with the count, and the other adult is going to be the governor. So you can decide who wants to be what.
How you doing?
Hey, governor's vote. This is how the election went. So what we're going to do now, I'm just going to read a couple of state legislatures, what they're doing for homeschool in other states, just to add a little context, and then we're going to take the vote. And I'm not a numbers person, which is why I always have the teacher come up and help me with that. So in Florida, home-educated students are eligible to participate in public school interscholastic extracurricular activities. California, Rule 305 of the California Interscholastic Federation prohibits homeschoolers from playing on public school teams. In Hawaii, individual schools and school districts have the authority to decide whether to allow homeschool students to participate. Policies vary according to district. So this is an issue that states wrestle with. Sometimes a state issue will become a national issue. Something like this probably won't, because our states are very proprietary about education, and they tend to kind of keep it amongst themselves. Very few federal rules. In Maryland, an intermediate appeals court ruled against private school students who sought to participate in public school extracurricular activity. And in Montana, the Supreme Court of Montana ruled that school district policy that kept non-public schools from participating in sports programs was quote-unquote reasonable, which tells you there's an appeal somewhere. Raise it high.
Who was in favor of this bill? People who was in favor of this bill.
It's a bill.
Alright, so this is in favor. Hands up high. We went confident.
Look, they are opposed. They are opposed. They ain't strong enough to say yes.
Oh my god.
I'm not against it.
Start all over again. First reading, committee meeting, second reading, third reading, vote. So for purposes of today, we're going to say it passed, because you guys were like making that happen. We had good bipartisan, and now the governor gets that bill, and he can sign it into law. Absolute conditional line on the pocket, Peter. Put it on his desk. It looks like it's a signature. There you go.
Hey, yo. What's up? What's up?
Where's this going on?
I don't know.
On YouTube? Do you record for like vlogs?
Maybe.
Is it going on YouTube?
Maybe.
Where you put all your anime stuff? You better make sure I make the cut.
Damn. Put you on the spot. I'm creating a YouTube channel too.
Word?
Mr. Jack.
Mr. Jack.
Who has gum wrapped?
Where's the weed at? Where's the Observe as she put on her lip balm. Still right here.
forgot the name. Excuse me, thank you. Claire's always making like vlogs, but like, whoa, someone almost got hit. But like, I wanted to take charge. So yeah, you already know. Yeah. So I'm gonna end it here, guys. Bye.
Oh no, wrong. What did it do, man?
Now we are leaving from the capital of awesome. Until next time, my people.
Nah, I didn't grab it. I didn't grab it. It's not my paper.
Until next time.
Yes.
Hoorah. All right.